third guest today in Studio B, 1996 football reminiscent, is Omar Morgan.
Yeah.
We just talked to Shane Yearbook about the play against Kansas State, and we've heard it from Ed Keel as well. He went through the details of it last year.
Yeah.
He went into some details about that story. But now here is Omar, the guy who had to come down with the pick, man. Welcome back.
Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be here.
What is it like to be reunited with this team?
It feels good, man. A lot of guys I haven't seen in 20 years. I've talked to a lot of the guys, but for the majority, I haven't seen those guys. So to see them, look like we about to go out there and get ready for practice. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That'd be interesting and maybe a show in and of itself, right?
No, not at all. It'd be the paramedics would be out there, man.
That 96 team was so special, and I was thinking about the lead up to that. We talked about 95. 94 was a 10-win team, beat Notre Dame and Oklahoma. 95 was a struggle, and then here comes 96. When you came to BYU in 96, what kind of sense did you get preseason of the talent on that team?
You know, when I got here, I came from junior college, from the same school that Steve Sarkisian came from. But when I got here, you could tell it was special. You can tell that we didn't have a lot of flaws. I mean, you know, we're not flawless, but we didn't have a lot of flaws. And you know, looking back, for me, it was just like I was hearing a lot of things in the room earlier. I just played one game at a time. I didn't know where we were ranked. I didn't care who we played, and that's kind of the atmosphere that Lavelle created for us, man. Just the next opponent, man. We're gonna practice hard, and we're gonna play hard every play, man. And that's what we did, and we were successful.
We just talked to Shane Yearbook about Lavelle Edwards, and he said he was more animated than people remember him, like behind the scenes on the sideline. What do you remember about Lavelle's demeanor during the game and in the locker room?
Yeah, during the game, his demeanor was kind of even keel, but he's a comedian. He's gonna tell jokes. He's gonna talk about you, you know, in a good way, man. But I've played a lot of football since BYU. He's the best coach I've ever been around, man. He's just even, and he makes you believe that you can do anything. Even when we got down, we just felt like, because of our leader, we could do anything, man. That's the approach I take in life. I feel like I can do anything regardless.
So Sark had already been here a year before you got here, right? El Camino?
Yes.
Community college?
Right.
Or junior college. Did Sark help recruit you here?
Yes, he did. I had 48 scholarship offers, and I took a trip to – this was my first trip here, and I went to Cal, I went to Texas A&M, Arizona State, and UCLA.
You had 48 scholarship offers?
That was pretty good. I was good in junior college.
Yeah. Well,
but
why'd you come here?
The atmosphere, the coaches, man. I enjoyed the buzz in the stadium. I enjoy that. I mean, other things you can deal with, but I enjoyed the buzz in the stadium. I enjoyed when I came here for a trip. The atmosphere was football, man. Football and being a good person, man. And when I came here, it was a no-brainer. I knew I was coming back, but you know, I had made some prior obligations, so I was gonna stick to taking my trips. But I knew I was gonna come here.
From your first trip?
That was BYU was my first trip.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Omar Morgan with us in Studio B, watching highlights on BYUtv of that interception against Kansas State. And I still remember, I can't remember who was calling the game on CBS, but I remember him saying, "Number one has to feel like number one right now." Omar, does it ever get old watching highlights of the 96 season?
You know, sometimes, but it's cool to hear or see, you know, people still feeling good about those times, man. That's the beauty of it to me, man. The accolades and the recognition is fine, but I really enjoy, you know, what the fans or the other players get out of it, man. It's good to me, but everybody else seems to get a kick out of it, so I love that.
Defensively, that team had some real playmakers, and that secondary was legit. You could argue that was the best secondary in BYU history.
I don't think you can argue. I think it is what it is.
Okay, then.
Put it down in marker.
We're going to talk to Tim McTire coming up. He was the other corner. Eddie Sampson, Chris Ellison, and others. What was it like to play in that secondary?
It was great, but what me and Tim brought, that you could play man-to-man with us too. So that made the game. You could play zone everywhere else. So it was just, we could play man-to-man with anybody in the conference, man, and it took a lot of weight off the safety shoulder because you don't have to come out there and help us. Stand and help them linebackers if they needed help. You had Brad Martin, you had Shea Mearbrooks. So they didn't need a lot of help either, but that secondary, like I said, me and Tim kind of anchored it playing corner, but we had a lot. Ben Cook is a guy that he was so smart. He taught me a lot of things, man. He don't know this. He don't know this, but he taught me a lot of things, man, and he just made me feel great every day, man. We had a lot of role players on that team, including myself, man. But with our corner, we could just play man-to-man, and you can do a lot of things. I mean, you can just play man-to-man with your two corners.
There's a reason that Shea Mearbrooks and Brad Martin and Spencer Reed are getting a ton of sacks, right? Because you and Tim are locking it down on the corners.
And vice versa. Like, sometimes I'll be back there, and I'm like, you sacked him already? Like, wow, they just hiked the ball, just snapped the ball. But that was a great team effort, man. And the coaching staff was just off the charts, man. We just had a good team. And like I said, we played hard every game, man. Every down, every play, we played hard as we could, man. We left it on the field.
There were three notable games where you guys had to come back in the fourth quarter. Texas A&M, they're ranked at the beginning of the year. You come back. Wyoming, Kansas State. What was it about those games and this team that you said, like, Lavelle made us believe? You did it.
He just made us believe. Like, I was looking at the game earlier. We were up 10-0 against Wyoming. So they just came back and took the lead. But we just felt like we could win regardless of who it was against. Regardless what the score was, if it was time left on the clock, we could win. And that's all credit to Lavelle and the rest of the coaching staff, man. Like I said, when I first got here, I don't even think I knew the schedule. I don't think I even cared. It was just whoever they're going to line up against us, we're going to go out there and play as hard as we can and believe in the coaches and the system. And it paid off at the end.
Jeremy and I were looking at your statistics. 4 interceptions that season, great numbers, but you didn't have any return yards in those interceptions.
I don't know if that was listed correctly. Did you? It said you had -4 return yards. I was like, no, come on.
You're probably right. I dove for my first one here.
There you go.
And I think I may have dove a couple of yards, and I caught one in TCU, and I lost yards. And
So it was right.
Yeah, it was right. But Tim scored. I think Chris Ellison scored. My goal in football was to try to get the ball back to the offense. You know, I knew if we got the ball back, regardless if it was on our own 1-yard line, we had a chance to take it down there and score because our offense was so good.
And then I see Shea Muirbrook, and every interception he has, he's like running 50 yards down the field. And Omar Morgan can't get a yard.
He is rumbling, too. Shea is he rumbled.
He looked like a running back there. He
looked like Dustin Johnson.
Shea was the glue to the whole team. He was the best player on our defense, but he was the glue to the whole team, in my opinion. Like his attitude, and if you followed him, and the way he approached the game, you had no choice but to be successful. He was the glue to the whole team.
He was a bad dude. Like, I looked at him and I go, yeah, that's the leader of the defense.
That's the leader of the defense.
I'm glad we have that guy.
And that's what BYU was then. Like, he was kind of a bully, you know, a good bully. You know, he played within the rules. And like, I don't know if you've seen the show earlier. He said that Utah State played dirty football. Well, we didn't have to play dirty, but when we hit you or tackled you, you was gonna know that we were hitting you and tackling you. And he just. No underdog. We're confident we're going to win. We don't have the underdog title. We didn't want that. We just felt that every game we was going to play, we was going to win, period.
Ed Keel told us the other day that if the 1996 team and the 84 team matched up, it wouldn't be much of a contest. It would go 96's way. Is this the greatest football team in BYU football history?
You asking me that? I don't. Yeah. Am I supposed to answer that? I mean, with all due respect, I know they won the national championship, but I mean, I don't want to even answer that.
You have answered it.
I've answered it. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think Ed Kidd was telling a lie. Yeah. I think he told the truth.
He's a man of truth.
Yeah.
Does the Washington game sting, or do you think that helped in any way the rest of the season?
Some guys said they thought it helped. I don't. I think they beat us handily. I think like K.O. said earlier, he didn't think about it one time after the fact, and neither did I. I think about it now, you know, coming back, and that's a blemish on the record. But I don't know if it helped or not. Regardless of win or lose, we were going to play the next game as hard as we could. If that takes for you to play harder, that's a problem. You should always play as hard as you can. So they just beat us, and they were better than us that day. And the way they played that game, they beat us up and down the field. I think they rushed for almost 300 yards. You know, so when you can't stop anybody from running the ball, it's tough. You know, I think they had like 8 sacks. So it was tough then, but the next game was next week, and we played as hard as we could, and we won.
What people don't remember about that Washington team is they finished, I think, ranked 16th in the country.
Yeah.
That was a good football team.
That was a very good football team with some NFL players. I think the defensive end that had a lot of the sacks, he went like second round. He was a pretty good player. They were good. Chorak.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a good memory. They ran for 264, and they had 8 sacks.
It felt like they ran for like 464. I mean, they put a guy in the fourth quarter. I want to say Corey Dillon. I think he had like 60 yards in the fourth quarter.
Was in that game.
Corey Dillon played on that team.
And then somebody else, Sheehy had about 145 yards or something like that.
Rashawn Sheehy. Yep. 131.
And then there's another guy, right?
It's like you looked this up before. And
no, I mean,
it
just looked like it just felt like the game took forever. They were just running the ball down our throats. It's like it's time to go home. You won, you know what I mean? But it was we on to the next game. That's
Part of
how
that
we felt.
lockdown memory, right?
Yeah, you got
Lockdown
Lock
corners
it
need a
away.
lockdown memory.
you got to let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go and move on to the next, man.
Let's end on a positive note. BYU won 12 games in a row after that.
You don't realize how well watching football, and it's kind of hard to say teams are going to go undefeated and win so many games. Like the Golden State basketball team and shit, you don't realize it until afterwards. But like I say, Lavelle made us believe, like, just play the next game, play the next game, and before you knew it, it's like 14-1. Like it's kind of different, man. And you learn to appreciate it now. But back then, we were just playing as hard as we could every game and every play.
Omarr, we have put you through the grill, man, and you survived. Congratulations.
I thank you guys for having me. I watch you guys sometimes. You guys are special.
Thank you
You're
very much.
really good. You're good. You're good.
Thank you.
You're good.
Wow,
You're good.
I appreciate that.
You're good.
In
Hey,
fact,
that's cool for
I'd
you.
like your autograph on my stretch white flag, Omarr.
So I'm special. I see the rest of the autographs. Thank you for making me feel special.
Well, at least one of you.
Omar Morgan, the great cornerback. Great stuff.